On this lesson, we are going to create an intent and we are going to learn how to launch a new activity from our current activity. But first, let me motivate you a bit. Don't get frustrated because Java is difficult. When I was learning Android, I was also learning Java at the same time. And I remember that there were a lot of things that I couldn't understand. Even if I didn't understand them, I learned them by memory because they were always the same all the time. So for example, when starting another activity, you have to create an intent and you do something like this. My intent, a new intent, you need this, and you need the name of the other activity dot class. For example, I'm going to use the same activity at the moment. We need to create one. So this is how an intent looks like. I didn't understand this. I didn't know why I was using this on the first parameter and why I was using the second activity with dot class. But even if I didn't understand it, I learned by memory that this is the way to start a new activity, and I was just copy and pasting this every time that I need to start a new activity. So this was helping me to progress. This was helping me to continue with the development. I was learning new things about view, about screen, so you keep going further. And one day, after some years, I just learned how this was working. Sometimes, like for example, to drive a car, you don't need to know about mechanics. So in Android development, it can happen the same. You don't need to understand everything, but if you know how it works, then you can create an application. So that is what we want to achieve. Okay, so let's create a new activity and launch it, even if we don't know what is this. So okay, in Java, in the place where we have our activities, we just click new activity, and it can be a blank activity. This is going to be called game activity because it's going to be the activity of the game. Okay, fine. When we create an activity like this, if we go to the manifest, we can see that our activity is here. If we just create a Java class, a new file, and we make it to be an activity, it won't be included on the manifest. So be careful with this. Okay, so we have the activity here. We don't need this method. Again, this makes everything much easier. So we have a second activity and a main activity. So we want an intent that goes from this activity, the activity that we are at the moment, this, to the second activity, which is game activity. And we have to use dot class here on the second parameter. Okay, so now how do I use the intent? What is an intent first? An intent is, on Android, means an intent to do something. It can be used to start a second activity, but it could be used to send an email, to open a web browser. There are another applications that are listening for intents. So like for example, email applications are waiting there on your mobile, waiting for an email intent, and when you launch an email intent, this pop-up is going to appear on your mobile and it's going to tell you, do you want to send an email with this application? Okay, so we know that now. Let's start a new activity. There is a method here, which is start activity, and take an intent, which is the one we are going to use. We are going to call a start activity, and it's going to take an intent. Okay, there is one more thing missing here, which is assigning this code to the button. So if we go to the view, I'm going to find the button here. It's this one, single player, and I'm going to add here the onClick property, and I'm going to paste the name of the method, start single player game. Okay, but before launching, we need to fix two things on the main activity. One is we need to add the public here. So this method can be seen from the other class, from the view, and we need to remove this line that we made explaining the method, because if not, it will start the game activity directly, not the main activity. Okay, so now this should do. We have the emulator. Okay, this will launch the application, and here we are. It's looking good. First click, second activity.